Okay, well, now we're going to focus on one theme that was the big theme of this week, which is the home improvement sector. If you missed out on the action last week, Polycab was clearly the stock of the week. Even amidst the fall that we saw on Friday, give and take everything, Polycab is now up 75% in 2023. It had a rocking Q1 where the company spoke about a 50 to 60% growth in their volumes in just one quarter. But it was not alone in this cables and wires business. Havells reported a very strong growth in their cables and wire business as well. Overall, Q1 revenue growth was 14%, but particularly in the cables and wires business, the revenues went up 24% and the stock is up almost 30% in 2023. Finolex Industries as well reported an improvement in margins this time. So there is a two-pronged positive effect. One, of course, volume growth is picking up for the sector, and second, raw material costs are falling. Now, look out for a couple of stocks in the weeks to come. Kajaria Ceramics, one of the stocks which is at a fresh 52-week high. It will be reporting its earnings on the 26th of July. Motilal Oswal expects Kajaria to report a volume growth of 9%, and easing cost pressure will aid the earnings by about 10%. The company is also focusing on capacity expansion as well as an increased dealership network. The other stock I'm looking at is KEI Industries. It comes out with numbers on 31st July. It gets 90% of its business from cables, both B2B as well as from retail. Earlier, the company had guided for a very strong growth in FY24. They expect the revenue to be 16 to 17%. Astral Pipes is the other one. The stock has already gone up about 30% this year. And Crompton Consumer, the stock is up 18% from the lows in April. Now, what's aiding home improvement stocks? As I said, strong volume growth, real estate demand picking up, and easing raw material costs. The only problem is valuations. Let's take a look at the valuations here. The most expensive on the street is Astral, 61 times forward. After that, Havells at 45 times. Polycab is at 37 times forward, and a couple of others on your screen. So, Hiren, my question to you is this home improvement space, right? I mean, it's something that has come back in a big way. Does it still make sense to enter this pocket now, or do you think that valuations have become too expensive?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a secular growth story. We've seen stocks do phenomenally well. But I think valuations are also now leave no room for error, right? So I think if you have a really long-term view, or I would say that if you encounter a quarter where for some reasons the numbers are not as per expectations and you get a correction, I think it would be wiser to buy on a dip rather than chase the current momentum in the home improvement stocks, right? Because see, what happens is that when any sector secularly keeps delivering, there is a tendency of the valuations to assume that there is going to be nothing wrong, right? So I think, as I said, I continue to believe that it's a secular sector, but I would buy if there is a correction in the market, or if an odd quarter is not as per expectations, and I would use that correction to buy in a secular growth story rather than chasing it at this point in time.
You were talking to us about QSR. I mean, actually, you were talking about some of the consumption at the lower end, which perhaps is not done well, which can do well. Tell us one or two pockets where one should look at for opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, without getting into names, right? I mean, the leading QSR company, for example, hasn't gone anywhere, hasn't participated in this rally. Or let us say some of the value retailers, or let us say some of the footwear companies, which essentially when you are wherever you are catering to a low ticket consumption item, and where because of inflation, the consumer has been hurt and demand hasn't been so great. Also, these companies got hurt because of raw material inflation, right? So now raw material prices are coming down. And Lever alluded that they've seen a bottoming out of rural demand. So I think if the rains are reasonable, which it looks like now, and inflation is cooling off and interest rates also peak out, then I think that would be a great hunting ground, a sort of a contrarian area to look at, right? And even agrochemicals falls in the same bucket, right? So these small discretionary or non-discretionary consumption companies, QSR, other than McDonald's, which has done obviously very well. Those are areas which haven't participated in this rally for good reason, right? And I think that's where I think the risk reward is much better today if you were to pick a few companies from here.
But anyway, it's the weekend and there are two big movies releasing, Oppenheimer and Barbie. Anyone planning to catch it? I know Nimesh also watched Barbie. Surely.
Sorry.
Why not?
I'm not a big fan of Barbie.
What about you? I've booked my tickets for Oppenheimer, by the way. I'm going
Oppenheimer
tomorrow.
for sure.
I'm assuming, Nimesh, you don't go to watch Barbie, right? You go to watch Margot Robbie, right? I don't know.
I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan, so Oppenheimer for me. What about
Oppenheimer for sure.
Nigel?
Oppenheimer for sure.
No, I'm going to watch the cricket this weekend because I need to take care of the kids. So we have Virat who's playing his 500th match, and you have England versus Australia. The test match is pretty interesting.
By the way, since you're home, you can also catch Korra. Is supposed to be really good on Netflix. You know, that's a web series.
Yeah.
So
on the OTT platform, they'll tell you what I'm catching, but after the show.
all right, folks, thanks a lot. And guys, thanks to you as well for watching Editor's Roundtable. Have a great weekend.
Peace of mind. It's what we seek.